ain't gonna go. Right, Coach Helen for You Fit Studio, talking about the Craving Monster. My favourite monster, well, not my favourite monster, the Cookie Monster is my favourite monster. Unfortunately, my Cookie Monster has been packaged a long time ago. Don't really know what to say. This hasn't happened for about 5 months. I've literally no idea what's happened. You know, someone running around though trying to collect dogs up, like the dog catcher. Hey Daksha. Super awkward. Right, I'm gonna start again. Craving Monster. These are not cats jumping into the camera. We've moved forward somewhat. Right, Craving Monster. Okay, when does your Craving Monster come out to play? Now, I'm going to be honest, from experience, most people's Craving Monsters come out in the evening, at night, usually at the end of the day. How many of us, or how many of you, after a long day at work, have just thought, oh God, glass of wine would be great, or some crisps, or some ice cream, just Craving Monster's saying, go on now. You've been so good. Why not? Why not? And often the Craving Monster has been likened to emotional eating, because actually quite similarly they happen at a relatively similar same time of the day. And lots of clients can say, Joe, I've been comfort eating, Helen. It's down to emotional eating, and you know, there is an argument to say that actually, yeah, okay, there are, as I said, there's some similarities. Actually, there's a difference, and there's a fundamental difference between the Craving Monster and emotional eating, and I'm gonna go into that a little bit more now, because I've done emotional eating and everything else, and we've talked about it. And I know, if you're with you, if it's you would talk to your coach, I'm sure, at some point about it, because we all can get into that place due to a lot of other reasons. The Craving Monster isn't emotional. Craving Monster isn't emotional. Why? Okay. Most common thing what I've seen and used to be guilty of, I'm going to be honest, is go for a low carb approach for most of the day. So look, I've talked about this before. I'm going to go through again, and this is a common thing I see with a client who is aiming to lose weight, right, from a health perspective. And this is something I did as well, because I thought it was quite straightforward in my head, is to skip breakfast altogether. Well, I say that this was a different Helen. We used to have a cup of coffee and a cigarette for breakfast. I can't remember what time of day it was. It was probably just before I was meant to be rolling into work, because I never used to get out of bed early. So a cup of coffee and a cigarette. Yes, I used to smoke quite a lot. And at lunchtime, I'd have a chicken salad, no dressing, because dressing I knew was fattening. And then in the evening, it was like my Craving Monster must have been. I'd love to give my Craving Monster a name. I just don't know that my Craving Monster would have been absolutely humongous, like literally huge. Because let's consider that I put on enough weight to be considered high risk for diabetes type 2 and blood pressure condition, and a host of other things that I failed on a health check through work. It was like the MOT gone wrong. So my Craving Monster was pretty big, I would say, as was my waistline at that point. So I would tend to then see it as I've been so good all day, I've been really good, and then go ham on carbs essentially. And it was always late at night. I would always actually even have a reasonable meal. This is the irony. I think from memory, I wasn't insane with the actual evening meal. Everything that will come after that, and it would be all carb based, right? And I've talked a little bit about sugar levels, but often we kind of say emotional eating. We're confusing the two things that are happening to our bodies. So why does this happen? You need carbs. So when you're going lower carbs through the day, it stands to reason that little voice is going to start talking. And sometimes we kind of think it's actually our body's telling us that you need energy. You actually need it. It's not that we need to have chocolate to go over the edge or anything like that. It's the sugar, or the glucagon, the glycogen that our body is craving for energy. It's that what your body is craving. However, we interpret it as chocolate, sweet, ice cream, all the quick stuff. Now, there is an argument to say that yes, you can replace that during the day, and yes, this is where you want to move towards. If you're doing this, is if your tactic, and we say you're going to resolve a couple of these things right off the back. So if you're going for a low carb, like the salad at lunchtime or no breakfast, you have to start thinking about, this is why I do the palm portions, because we want to avoid the craving monster at night. We want to avoid the little voice saying, go on, come on, because it is a mental game. But actually, your body is craving the actual energy that it needs for the day after. It knows, your body's a very clever thing, so it deploys the monster to go, eat me, eat all the carbs. And so to bring in a slow releasing carb during the day, like something with starchy, like potatoes, for example, or even fruit. Fruit is okay. Fruit is not the devil. Bring it on in. Bring it on in during the day, so you're less likely to let the carb crazy monster craving on the shoulders and eat. Be able to bring that through the day, so you can actually turn down the volume a lot of the times. And yeah, I know there's a lot of things. I know that Pooja said time of the month, evening after a stressful day. Yes. Although I would also say, Pooja, actually have a look at what you're doing with your carbs during the day, as well as to see what happens if you have a stressful day and you're more likely to go for that stuff. See what happens, actually, Pooja, if you actually do bring something in during the day and try to even that out a little bit. With all my guys who've done it, they have actually found that they can control, because that's what I want to do, control the craving monster a little bit more. What I have also noticed with this is when the craving monster is high level, is this tactic. I say tactic more than a strategy, because strategy would be long term. This is a tactic. So tactics are short term, and this is one I see a lot of, is when a client completely removes sugar out of their diet, right? So it's the same thing, they completely remove it out. So take out all chocolate, all sweet things, all sugar out of tea and coffee straight away. And the body, there's nothing they do. Some clients do get headaches, to be fair. I'm going to tell you a story of a client. Once upon a time, there was a client. There is literally, I have a client who has got fantastic results, and this client knows that they like to have, they want and need those carbs through the day. And so rather than taking out all the sugar and all the sweet things, which is not bad, by the way, if it keeps the craving monster at bay, the client of mine has had a piece of dark chocolate every day for the last, well, it'll be like 3 or 4 months. Now, that client's at a very good result, actually, a monumental result during the middle of lockdown. And what that client recognised, and I recognised quite early on and was never going to mess with, is that her craving monster would be so much larger if we did ensure she had a decent carb, and a sweet carb as well, in a lot of her meals. So does she have berries? Yes. Does she have sweet potato? Yes. Does she sacrifice one of her oil or cooking oil in the evening meal to have one piece of dark chocolate after each evening meal? Yes, she does. Today what? And she goes okay, because as yet she has not had any major craving monster issues when it's gone crazy on her. And yet so often when we want to go like full on, we go for taking out like all the sugar out of everything, taking out all the sweet stuff that's meant to be bad for you. Actually, if you're keeping the craving monster at bay late at night because it's all coming at once like a tidal wave, then actually it's not a bad approach. And okay, next point I would say, because I'm going to touch on stress a little bit. What happens with stress is that a lot of people will go no food, as in they lose appetite altogether, which I've touched on before on a different live about the stress response. So have literally no food whatsoever, or low food. So actually the same thing happens late at night. The body goes into that craving because it goes into the craving extreme, right? So it wants what it wants. As I said, the body is incredibly clever and will tell you what it needs. We, as I said earlier, communicate. We actually, what's the word? Oh, I've got my words. What do? We decipher it as a craving monster or as stress eating or emotional eating. But actually, all we're doing is we're almost, not starving sounds extreme, but we're restricting sugar from our body, and our body is going to tell us what it wants and what it needs. It's going to tell us in no uncertain terms, give me the sugar, give me the energy, because I've got another 24, 48, 72 hours to go dealing with a high amount of stress, and you're not giving me anything. And we go for it, like we go for the high carb meals and foods and everything else to get it at our bay. And actually, it's all to do with that. These are all responses that physically are happening. So it's not a phantom thing. It's not an emotional eating thing. It is a physical response sometimes to actions we take where we think we're actually doing the best thing from a health perspective. And the thing is about all of these points, all these things that have come up, because someone's like, they're cravings. I've had a lot of craving questions over the last couple of weeks. I'm craving, Helen, what do I do? I'm craving. The thing is, what you do is you aim for 3 rounded meals, right? When I say rounded and 3, like the timing, yes, right? I've got plenty of clients who actually tell me the timings of their meals. Why? So I can work out what's happening if they are suddenly having massive bouts, right? So this is thing to play. If you think, right, if you're listening to this sounds like me, I don't know why I'm eating so much at night. I don't know why I'm craving sugary things late at night. It must be stress. It must be emotions. It must be, like Pooja said, time of the month. Yeah, all of those answers might be correct. Also, though, the thing I like to do with some of my clients is actually, okay, great. They send me your meals. Great. You're sending pictures of food. Fantastic. I'm also going to ask the time of the day that you're eating the food, right? So I can see, right, if someone's eating, say they get up really early, 6:30 in the morning, 6:30, and then they're having their lunch at, say, 12, 12:30, and they're not eating dinner until 7:30 at night. The cravings kick in usually about 3, 4 o'clock, right? If you listen to this and go, that sounds like me. Yeah, maybe it is later on towards the day. Why? Because actually, say like me, a client has no carbs at lunch and has, I don't know, like I used to have a chicken salad, no dressing, no carb. So like no new potatoes, not on a wrap, just as a salad in a bowl, or just veggies, right? When they get into 3 o'clock, what's their body asking for? It's asking for sugar. What do they have? They have biscuits. Same thing applies for the craving monster to some degree, actually, that comes in during the day. Although it's most commonly at night, actually. You still get it at the 11s, right? So somebody has breakfast at, 7 o'clock, isn't planning to have lunch until 1 o'clock. Body's like this, it's going to happen. I can't wait that long. I'm going to need it before then. You can almost trick yourself into the craving monster being there. But this is where the timings, the 3 rounded meals, the timings of them is also important, of the content of them. So again, if I'm dealing with a client, I've got a couple I'm doing in a minute, food and time. Okay, so I can then space out and go, right, okay, so hang on, you had some chocolate rice cakes then. What did you have for your carb? Oh, I see you didn't have a carb, or you had a very small carb, or you had fruit, right? Or you had a few berries instead of an actual big piece of fruit. And start to tweak those things. And what happens over time is fascinating, because you start to see the shift between behaviours. And it's not because stress has become any different. It's not because the life at home has changed any differently. It's not because client's cycle has changed. It's literally because the client's body starts to respond to the sugar levels, and the volume starts to turn down or less frequently on the craving monster. So actually we see it coming out to play less, or not as hollering as loud, shall we say. And that's where it becomes important to balance those things through the day. So that, my friends, although I'm friends, so with a little bit of interplay with the dogs at the beginning, is the craving monster. I'm going to recap it without dog barking, I hope this time. So what is it? It's something that happens usually, not all, like exclusively, usually late at night, after a long day. It's either the language is, oh, you deserve it, you've been so good, go on. And like I said, sometimes we relate that to being either a stress or emotional eating response. And actually, though, it can be something else. It can be our body's way of telling us that actually we're missing out on some of the things we're doing with our nutrition during the day, and it's having a knock-on effect. What is that? It's the most common thing. Like I said, I did. Not common, not the breakfast thing. I don't think it's common to have a cigarette and a coffee first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up. I hope. It's a different life. However, some people skip. I'll just say skip breakfast. We'll say that, skip breakfast. Have a pretty bare basic salad at lunch, no carb. And then get into the evening, have a reasonable meal, and then still crave and crave and crave and crave afterwards. And actually, it's our body's way of saying, do you know what, you didn't give me enough during the day. So instead of looking at either having no carbs in the meals, looking to then bring in like a starchy carb like potatoes, or think fruits, something that is going to help you through the day, and not leave you with wanting that so much at night. And if you, I said we'll get into solution again in a minute. Also, please guys, don't take out sugar altogether. It's not the devil, it's just moderation, right? So a client that talks about having a piece of chocolate every day, and she's got a banging result at this point. And she's kept her sugar levels level all the way and had very, very minimal cravings. You know, we're all, as I said, also come to stress and time of the month. However, we can eliminate some of the other areas that happens in our lives by changing how we structure the day. Again, if you're not eating at all because of high stress or low food, then it can take the cravings to extreme. So looking at the rounded meals and looking at the timings of your meals can absolutely definitively turn down what happens with a craving monster. And I've seen it multiple times. So if you're unsure, or you think, oh, I'm sure it's just stress or emotional eating, time is to test it, right? Have a look at your own food diary. If you're not doing a food diary with your coach, start to become more mindful, become aware of what carbs you're eating and when. You're not going to gain weight by adding the carbs into the day during those carbs into the meals during the day, because at the end of the day, if we accept the craving monsters taking control at night, you're eating more than that at night, definitively anyway. So unless you really want, and this is the other side of it, right? I've also seen this as well. Some clients will want to really give into the craving monster, and so we'll let that behavior continue once they're aware. Just to throw that one in there, human behavior. We do like these things, right? And it's on your own choice whether or not you succumb to the craving monster and let that be what happens, or actually say, do you know what? Well, it's a couple of hundred extra calories. I'm eating probably about 5-6 at night. What's the harm in trying it and see what happens? You might be pleasantly surprised. And as far when I've done this with clients, it has been successful. It's all about being aware of what we think and perceive is actually helping us lose weight, and actually what the knock-on effect is when we're not taking care of that rounded meal, the 3 rounded meals. So yeah, that's that one. Oh, look, that actually kind of segues quite nicely. Why is a food diary important tomorrow? Oh, look at that. Seamless. Ooh, giving something away today, but this one leads on. So if you're thinking I don't do a food diary, or I haven't done a food diary for a long time, or I don't see the point of a food diary, or why do one? Tomorrow, tune at 5 and find out why a food diary is and can be reoccurringly valuable for someone's journey. Until then, I will catch you tomorrow. Ciao.